Yeah. I know usually. July. Siren's coming. Okay. much. What's the one? Yeah. Okay. What you want me to do? Get shot up here? What to do? Alright. Yeah, right. Yeah. And you go to support those officers, you know, if you want.
Almighty God, who in thy infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of rulers and councils for the welfare of society and the just government of man. We beseech thee to behold with thy abundant favor us thy servants, whom thou hast been pleased to call to the performance of such important trusts in the Commonwealth of Dominica. Let thy blessings descend upon us here in this Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in thy presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote thy honor and glory, and to advance the good of those whose interests thou hast committed to our charge. All which we ask in the name and for the sake of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Adoption of order paper.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the order paper be adopted as circulated.
I second, Mr. Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the order paper be adopted. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Suspension of sitting.
I now suspend the sitting in order to meet Her Excellency the President.
Mr. Speaker.
Your Excellency, on the occasion of the first meeting of the second session of the 11th Parliament, I, George Theoville, Superintendent of Police in the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force, do have the distinct pleasure presenting to you 2 platoons, a guard of honor comprising of 2 platoons of the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force, 1 platoon of the Dominica Fire and Ambulance Services, and the government band. They are formed in 2 ranks, dressed in open order, ready and awaiting the pleasure of your inspection. Your Excellency, may you please inspect the guard.
for the very first time in my capacity as the first female president of the Commonwealth of Dominica and as the first president of indigenous lineage. On this noteworthy occasion of the formal opening of Parliament, the first meeting of the second session of the 11th Parliament under the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Dominica, I have chosen on this historic and special moment to focus on some of the pertinent issues that overshadow our efforts to invest in the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and to realize the ultimate goal, a dynamic Dominica that is centered on resilience, sustainability, modernization, and inclusiveness. Mr. Speaker, permit me at this stage to reiterate my gratitude to the Honorable Prime Minister and members of the House of Assembly for conferring the dignity and responsibilities of the office of President on me. I gratefully appreciate your confidence and trust. Thus far, it has been a fulfilling and enjoyable experience serving my people and nation. I remain true and loyal to the promise made at my inauguration on the 2nd day of October 2023 to be a president for all citizens of our beloved Dominica, both here and abroad. It is my every intention to safeguard the dignity and image of this high office and to discharge the functions of the office of president with the highest sense of dedication, impartiality, objectivity, and fairness in accordance with the provisions of the Dominica Constitution and applicable law, and in the best interests of our people and nation. Mr. Speaker, I further wish to commend and congratulate the newest member of this Honorable House, Senator Honorable Chalika Vidal, who was appointed on the 9th day of April 2024 on the advice of the then Honorable Leader of the Opposition to fill the vacant position occasioned by the annulment of the appointment of former member Sean Douglas. Senator Vidal, your parliamentary role is an important one and hence should be taken very seriously. Parliament is the supreme legislative body where matters affecting the governance and affairs of state are deliberated upon and voted into law. During your orientation, you no doubt were furnished with a copy of the standing orders, which are basically written rules which regulate the proceedings of the House that should be followed and respected by every member of Parliament. These standing orders are meant to safeguard and maintain order and decorum when debates are taking place. I therefore encourage you to familiarize yourselves with the standing orders of the House and have due regard to the rulings and admonitions of the Speaker. Take correction in good faith and aim to become an effective member of Parliament. I would also like to take this opportunity to congratulate Mrs. Annette Thomas Sanford on her election as the first female Kalinago chief. I am optimistic that she will work towards unifying the Kalinago people, putting all political differences aside, and working towards the sustainable development of all Kalinago people, both here and abroad. I am also hopeful that her responsibility and that of the Kalinago Council, as enshrined in the Kalinago Territory Act, will be taken seriously as the foundation for guidance in decision-making. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, having listened to some public discourse on matters relating to the Constitution and governance, drove me to conclude that the general public has a limited understanding of the provisions of the Dominica Constitution and the role of the various arms of government it establishes. This conclusion could not be ignored, knowing the importance and significance of the Constitution, the supreme law of the state. Noteworthily, the preamble to the Constitution begins with profound guiding principles representing what we are as Dominicans and what we desire to become. It outlines the various arms of the state and their individual powers. It also speaks to the determination of a person's citizenship and outlines the fundamental rights and freedoms of the citizenry, among other things. I therefore call on every citizen, more particularly members of this House, to take his or her civic responsibilities seriously by making a concerted effort to learn as much as possible about the Constitution and to get acquainted with the guiding principles contained therein. Such collective appreciation and understanding is what will instill a sense of true patriotism within us, cause us to put country before self, and help build a gentler and more caring nation. Doing or thinking otherwise will retard our advancement as a people and nation, and this we cannot entertain at this crucial stage of our development. If we are to succeed in confronting the innumerable global challenges, we must unite in mind, heart, and purpose. Including civic education in the curriculum of every primary school on island would be a step in the right direction. The Constitution is easily accessible. Copies are available for sale at the government printery at a subsidized fee. I invite every Dominican to invest in a copy. I further wish to recommend for reading a publication titled, and I quote, "The Constitution, the Government, and You," end of quote, penned by Mr. Alex C. Lawrence, one of Dominica's senior and most respected lawyers. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, the world in which we live is filled with various crises, but the one which is considered the greatest threat to humanity is climate change. The changing of the climate continues to pose a threat to the global community, especially to countries and territories like the small island developing states known for their extensive marine and coastal zones, limited access to finance, and high vulnerability to natural disasters. Climate change is wreaking havoc on our planet. People around the world are witnessing and experiencing firsthand the disastrous impacts of polluted air, droughts, intense wildfires, warming seas and rising sea levels, coastal erosion, extreme heat, food insecurity, extreme weather events that are increasing in frequency and severity, etc. These are driven primarily by human activities through the burning of fossil fuels that generate greenhouse gas emissions. In June of this year, we witnessed the formation of the earliest and quickest Category 4 hurricane in recorded history, Hurricane Beryl, which left trails of destruction in our sister islands of Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, and its islands of Carriacou and Petit Martinique, and Jamaica. It is hoped that this was a wake-up call to the developed world, the high emitters of fossil fuels. It is rather unfortunate that small states like ours that are low-emitting countries are the ones on the front lines of the climate crisis. It is totally unfair that seeds and their populations are the ones suffering the worst consequences of the actions of the developed world. Their actions are taking a toll on our very existence, our development, and our well-being. This situation calls for urgent, collective global action. The high-emitting countries need to recognize and accept responsibility for their destructive practices and do the noble thing, honor the targets set out in the Paris Agreement, and provide the funding that is required to enable our small states to become resilient, adaptable, and sustainable. Mr. Speaker, the lack of action by the larger and more industrial countries makes it look like seeds are asking them for a favor. This is no favor. They brought this crisis upon us, and it is only fair that they provide us with the required support to respond to its impacts. Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit has been sounding that call at every opportunity he gets. Today, I join him in this campaign. Climate justice demands that the developed world honors its promises. We will not relent until they do so. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, there is no doubt that the impacts of climate change and the slow corrective actions by the developed world are overwhelming, but all hope is not lost. Historically, seeds have been at the forefront of climate solutions. Many seeds have taken that bold political step to commit to the national climate action plans known as the Nationally Determined Contributions, NDCs, geared at targeting the global targets set out in the Paris Agreement, such as a net zero emission, climate resilient future. Seeds have also played a key role in climate change negotiations and have been the driving force behind loss and damage discussions and the establishment of a fund for responding to climate impacts at COP27. The aim is to reach net zero emissions ahead of 2050 by developing renewable energy resources. I can proudly say, without any fear of contradiction, that Dominica has become a global leader in resilience and sustainability. In response to the severe socioeconomic and physical shock suffered first by Tropical Storm Erika in 2015, followed in 2 short years by the destruction of Hurricane Maria in 2017, the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica made the bold decision to become the first climate resilient country of the world by 2030, focusing on building back better. This decision was complemented by the development of a strategy and a plan, the National Resilient Development Strategy, NRDS, and the Climate Resilience and Recovery Plan, CRRP, respectively. The Build Back Better strategic approach is reflected in every sector of the economy, be it in housing, health, education, tourism, agriculture, energy, information, communications and technology, the environment, you name it. The Roosevelt-Skerrit-led administration deserves a tap on the shoulder. The people of Dominica also deserves a tap on the shoulder. Key stakeholders from across the international community gathered in Antigua from the 27th to the 30th of May 2024 for the 4th International Conference on Small Island Developing States, SEEDS, to discuss the unique challenges faced by SEEDS, with climate change high on the agenda. Information shared by the Caribbean ASEAN Council indicated that the conference recognized the unique vulnerability of seeds and also their potential, and called for the international community to assist such states in diversifying their economies and strengthening their productive capacity. Stemming from the discussion was also the call for reforms in the international financial architecture to make accessing concessional financing easier. Recognizing that the next 10 years are crucial for seeds, the conference sought international support for the conservation, restoration, and sustainable use of oceans, marine resources, and biodiversity, and urged support for the establishment of a seeds center for excellence, which will include a seeds data hub and an island investment forum. The conference marked a significant step towards addressing the unique challenges faced by seeds and setting the stage for a decade of action and resilience. It was heartening to have learned of the outcomes of the 4th International Conference on Seeds. Let us hope and pray that the long-awaited support from our developed partners will be forthcoming this time around. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, gender equality is of paramount socioeconomic importance. It is one of the cross-cutting issues prioritized in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. It is ranked 5th among the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the 2030 Agenda that are designed to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. The goal of SDG 5 is to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. There is consensus that progress on all of the SDGs is realistically achievable if women's empowerment and gender equality are prioritized holistically. The United Nations considers equality between women and men, boys and girls, both as human rights issue and as a precondition for and indicator of sustainable people-centered development. Kofi Annan, former Secretary General of the United Nations, asserts that, and I quote, "Gender equality is more than a goal in itself. It is a precondition for meeting the challenge of reducing poverty, promoting sustainable development, and building good governance," end of quote. Small island developing states have shown significant achievements in promoting gender equality, particularly in narrowing the gender gap in labor markets. The Caribbean region has seen women breaking barriers and attaining leadership roles across various sectors and industries. Be it as head of state, prime ministers, cabinet ministers, parliamentarians, financial and permanent secretaries, chief executive officers in banking, insurance, and business enterprises, to name a few. These leadership roles are crucial for driving the gender equality agenda. Further progress was achieved through law reforms, policy implementations, and targeted investments in gender-focused programming. For instance, in Dominica, women make up 36.8% of members of cabinet and 37.5% of members of parliament, with most of the holders of the position of permanent secretary and school principals being women. Additionally, Dominica demonstrates its unwavering commitment to this just cause through the passage of relevant pieces of legislation that reflect international best practices and are in accordance with international conventions. These pieces of legislation were recently reformed to reinforce the safety, protection, and security of our children, women, and other vulnerable groups. However, despite notable progress made toward gender equality, SIDS continue to face distinctive challenges that hinder gender equality, women's rights, and the empowerment of women and girls. For example, intersecting crises in the region have significantly hindered the progress of gender equality due to their compounded effects on existing vulnerabilities and inequalities. We must therefore recognize and address the intersecting forms of discrimination faced by vulnerable populations in SIDS on any grounds, including gender, culture, race, ability, creed, age, socioeconomic condition, or other dissimilarity. Intersectional approaches are crucial in ensuring that no one is left behind in our quest for a resilient and sustainable future. Mr. Speaker, I had the opportunity to represent Dominica at a two-day first-of-its-kind SIDS Gender Equality Forum, which took place in Antigua from the 25th to the 26th of May 2024, ahead of the 4th SIDS Conference. This forum was convened to primarily reflect on better practices and lessons learned in operationalizing the Samoa Pathway, the Sustainable Development Goals, and to deliberate on the way forward to ensure a gender transformative, resilient future for SIDS in which all human beings can enjoy their human rights and fundamental freedoms without being discriminated against. Following the deliberations, highlights of the forum and recommendations were drawn up and presented at the 4th SIDS Conference. I wish at this juncture to acknowledge the Bureau of Gender Affairs for its indispensable role in coordinating the gender equality efforts and all the non-governmental organizations who have been raising public awareness on gender-related issues. In a nutshell, no society, no country can develop economically, politically, or socially when half of its population is marginalized. I therefore appeal to all relevant stakeholders in SIDS to join forces to create a more equitable and inclusive Caribbean. We must ensure that no one is left behind. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, the planet Earth is our common home designed by God. The environment is the foundation of our health and well-being. It gives us clean air, water, food, materials, space for recreation, and other essential needs. The environment is truly nature's gift that helps in nourishing life on Earth. It is therefore critical that we attach significance to the conservation of the planet, its climate, and ecosystems. Furthermore, the Bible tells us that we are not to exercise our God-given dominion in a way that destroys or abuses nature. Instead, we ought to be stewards of the earth. God Almighty summons us in Genesis chapter 2, verse 15 to, and I quote, "Work it and take care of it," end of quote. Consequent upon the world's failure to protect the environment, we continue to experience much retribution from nature. There is absolutely no doubt that planet Earth is under severe threat and stress, and may very well become uninhabitable if we further delay decisive corrective action. Every day, the global community is feeling the impacts, some of which I alluded to earlier in my address. The science is clear. It is well known that there is an urgent need to keep global temperature rise below 1.5 degrees Celsius. However, our planet Earth has already been warmed by 1.1 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, and the world is on a trajectory to hit a possible 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2030. Indeed, urgent actions are needed to reverse this trajectory by safeguarding nature and the climate. We here in Dominica are fortunate that we can still bathe in clean air, clean water, enjoy clean air, enjoy quality drinking water directly from the tap, and take advantage of the excellent relaxation opportunities, such as bathing in our rivers and seas, hiking the trails, etc. These luxuries will only remain at our disposal if we take care of the environment by practicing effective management measures. There is no disputing that everything that we need to survive and thrive depends on nature. Hence, we ought to take care of the environment just as we care for ourselves. I wish to compliment the government of Dominica for recognizing this reality and for investing so greatly in our ecosystem health. The Ministry of Environment, Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment, and Constituency Empowerment, through its various divisions and programs, has embarked on several initiatives that seek to enhance our environmental sustainability through biodiversity, adaptation, and preservation. Some of the foremost initiatives relate to reforestation and ecosystem enhancement, integrated physical adaptation and community resilience, and solid waste management. In 2019, government, in its continued efforts to preserving Dominica's breathtakingly beautiful natural landscape and en route to becoming the first climate-resilient country in the world, placed a ban on common plastics and single-use styrofoam cups and food containers. Since then, we have seen the ever-growing global push as per the mandate of UNEA Resolution 514, which seeks to, and I quote, end plastic pollution towards an international legal binding instrument, end of quote. This treaty seeks to end plastic pollution, especially in the marine environment, by 2040, by considering the full life cycle approach of plastic production. Regrettably, there is still a wide use of common plastics on island that are not being disposed of in a responsible manner. There is need to consider a future ban on single shopping bags, better known as t-shirt bags, as these items are easily blown and once in the ocean pose a significant threat to turtles, dolphins, and whales, just to name a few. I wish to acknowledge the contribution of the various government ministries, divisions, groups, and individuals involved in environmental advocacy. We too can play our part by engaging in planet support activities such as cleanup campaigns, tree planting, grass planting to help prevent soil erosion, practicing proper waste disposal, and recycle, reuse, and composting. Protecting the environment is not only essential for enhancing human, animal, and plant life, but also for sustainable development as well as socioeconomic advancement. To put it simply, natural resources are essential for life on Earth. My dear people, let us not turn a deaf ear to the call to do something to save our planet Earth, our source of life and livelihood. Let us make a concerted effort to conserve our natural resources, combat pollution, and protect biodiversity. We owe it to ourselves, our society, our economy, our nature isle, and of course to our future generations. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, God blessed us with special gifts, our children. He entrusted them to our care to raise them up in the right way, in a manner pleasing to Him, to love them, to protect them, to provide for their every need, and to provide them with a good foundation. Children depend on us adults for their survival and well-being, especially when they reach the vulnerable stage of adolescence. At this stage, their bodies grow through rapid changes that can trigger needs and behaviors that place them at risk, such as a need to, and I quote, fit in, end of quote, to be accepted by their peers, to find a place in society, to find a place in the world. Unfortunately, that protection and care is not always forthcoming, and as a result, many of our children and adolescents have become victims of abuse in one form or the other. The Social Welfare Division for the period January 2023 to June 2024 recorded reported cases of child abuse as follows. Ages 0 to 4, 13 males, 22 females. Ages 5 to 9, 8 males, 22 females. Ages 10 to 14, 6 males, 35 females. And ages 15 to 17, 5 males, 21 females. The various forms of abuse are categorized as follows. Inadequate supervision 4, failure of parent to provide 5, runaways 3, child beyond control of parent 17, physical abuse 38, neglect 63, emotional abuse 21, and sexual abuse 54. The aforementioned data represents 74% female and 26% male. As revealed from the above reported child abuse cases, neglect is the highest form of abuse. And what in God's name would 35 innocent beings, 4 years and under, do to anyone to merit any form of abuse? This is very concerning. For a small population like ours, one case of abuse is one too many. These are just reported cases. There may be many unreported cases out there. Those vulnerable and disadvantaged children and adolescents need our attention, our time, and protection. The government is playing its part. What are the rest of us doing? Will we continue to turn a deaf ear to these cries for help? I hope not. We have to confront the societal problem as a collective frontally. I am particularly concerned about our young men, who appear to be the ones most at risk. Most of the societal ills are committed by our young men And lately, we have been losing too many of our young men through gang or drug-related violence. Reports from the police department show us that 15 males were victims of homicide in 2023, and thus far in 2024, 5 males. Almost 1 homicide per month. It is also a known fact that our girls do better at school and our young ladies are more inclined to pursue higher education than our young men. We need to find the real cause of this problem and address it. The main root of the problem may well be associated with how we socialize our children, where the girls should stay home and read their books, while it is okay for our boys to be playing or roaming the streets, where it is okay for our girls to express themselves and to cry, but it is not okay for our boys to express themselves and to cry because crying is a sign of weakness and they ought to be strong. We are still seeing the devastating consequences of this antiquated style of socialization, where bottled up feelings have turned to anger, and that is being manifested in violence and crime and other destructive ways. So we as parents and grandparents need to re-examine our own preconceived notions about gender and create an environment where our boys can be their full, authentic selves, to be able to express their hurt and their pain without being accused of being weak. Also of great importance is the influence of a good man in the lives of his children and in the lives of children beyond his own home. He has the power to impact his community. Men, your role in the lives of your children cannot be duplicated. Please play your part in helping our children, our boys, to grow and mature into responsible adults. I am happy to report that the Office of the President is also playing our part, and the President's Charities Foundation have, with the valued input of relevant stakeholders, formulated a community outreach program that is geared at helping our vulnerable children and adolescents realize their true and fullest potential. This program has been piloted in the community of Granby with the intention to duplicate it in other communities. We are currently working in close collaboration with the schools and leaders of the youth organizations like the Scouts, Girl Guides, and Cadet Corps, who play a pivotal role in helping to mold our children into well-rounded citizens. We have been working with the youth leaders to help revamp these groups and have since provided them with financial support to procure uniforms for their respective organizations. I wish to use this opportunity to encourage all parents and guardians to enroll your children in one of these youth organizations. Pretty soon, a science, technology, engineering, and mathematics STEM program to include a component of music will commence at the existing Center for Excellence Hub in Granby. Thanks to the coordinated efforts of Dr. Germaine Jean-Pierre, Secretary to the President's Charities Foundation, and Youth Officer, Mr. Julian Paquette. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I am also concerned about the well-being of our elderly citizens, some of whom I am aware are being subjected to abuse in most cases by their own family members. These include physical, sexual, psychological, and emotional abuse, financial and material abuse, abandonment, neglect, and serious loss of dignity and respect. The World Health Organization, WHO, has confirmed that the rates of abuse of older persons increased during the COVID-19 pandemic and has predicted that abuse of older persons will increase as many countries are experiencing rapidly aging populations. The global population of persons aged 60 years and over, according to the WHO, is predicted to increase to 2 billion by 2050. We too have an aging population, and hence the number of cases of elder abuse is likely to increase. We therefore need to formulate effective strategies to help prevent and respond to the abuse of older persons. Some of the strategies considered most promising includes caregiving interventions, money management programs for older persons vulnerable to financial exploitation, helplines and emergency shelters, and multidisciplinary teams. I wish to commend the government of Dominica for its kind intervention being executed through the Yes We Care program, which from all reports has made a significant difference in the lives of the elders who receive this social service. Commendation is also being conveyed to the Dominica Council on Aging for its leading role in raising public concern about elder abuse and for safeguarding their rights, dignity, and well-being. Our elders deserve the best of care and attention. We owe it to them. Older persons must be recognized, cherished, and held in high esteem for their contribution to nation building, regardless of their color, creed, or social standing. We, meaning the homes, the schools, the churches, non-governmental organizations, and the business community, should join forces with the government, the Dominica Council on Aging, the caring institutions, and the uniformed social groups to help protect and care for the most vulnerable in our midst. Mr. Speaker, we have made great headway in addressing the issue of electoral reform that has loomed over us through several election cycles. The Sir Dennis Byron report was received, and government engaged various stakeholders in consultations to review the report and recommendations made by Sir Dennis Byron. The Cabinet, ably supported by the Attorney General Chambers, has thoroughly reviewed the offered recommendations and classified them as short, medium, and long-term measures. This strategic approach was employed to facilitate implementation of the offered workable recommendations on a phased basis, as electoral modernization is an ongoing process, and hence it is not feasibly possible to accommodate all of the recommendations at the same time. To advance the process, this Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit-led administration has decided to commence the process by first focusing on 3 of the unresolved issues of electoral reform as it relates to the registration of electors, the House of Assembly Act, and the Electoral Commission Act. Respective pieces of legislation were drafted and made available to the public for review and comments. I trust that honorable members of the House and the wider public made time to access and read the draft legislation. I read all 3 pieces of the draft legislation and found each one of them to be acceptable. It is a lot of information, I must admit, but the clear and simple style used made reading easy for persons of all ages. I wish to recognize the Attorney General and his team for their dedication and hard work and to commend them for a job well done. The Prime Minister, in one of his updates, informed the nation that it was not possible to bring the bills before Parliament in June as was intended, since the Electoral Commission requested an extension of time to review the draft legislation, which it hopes to complete at the end of July 2024. When the bills are tabled in Parliament, I urge members on both sides of this honorable House to approach the debate from the point of view of ensuring that the rights of all eligible voters, both at home and abroad, are protected. No eligible voter should be disenfranchised. Neither should the state make voting a difficult and stressful exercise for its citizens. I look forward to this honorable House bringing this matter to a close. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, by God's grace and goodness, we have been able to navigate through the various challenges and vulnerabilities that confront us and to place Dominica on a path for development that is sustainable and people-focused for the adoption of resilient and sustainable practices that are reflective in every sector of the economy. Building resilience to future natural disasters and external shocks is critical to our continued growth and development and the realization of dynamic Dominica. Government has invested in several transformative projects that are geared at taking us closer to that realization. This is evident in initiatives like the digital economy, the Green Energy Initiative, which is prioritized on the development of our geothermal resources, the construction of major international hotels, the construction of the international airport, and the soon-to-commence Cabrit's Marina. Dynamic Dominica is within our grasp. Let us continue to tackle the challenges and difficulties as a resilient collective and work towards achieving the ultimate goal, dynamic Dominica. We are currently in a very active hurricane season. We thank our Heavenly Father for sparing us from the disastrous impact of Hurricane Beryl, and we pray with all our might that He will keep His eyes upon us and protect us from all future natural disasters, from harm and danger of all kinds. We also lift up in prayer our brothers and sisters in the region whose lives and livelihoods have been shattered by Hurricane Beryl. We feel their distress and pain and pray that the healing process after this traumatic experience will be complete and that the international community will hasten and come to their aid. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I find it necessary to refer my fellow citizens and residents to the preamble of the Dominica Constitution, which states inter alia that, and I quote, "The Commonwealth of Dominica is founded upon principles that acknowledge the supremacy of God," end of quote. Those principles are also reflected in our symbols of nationhood. This need was triggered by the somewhat lack of sense of sin and fear of God being exhibited lately by the populace, particularly among the younger generation. These persons feel it is okay to do and say what they want, how they want, where they want, and when they want, with no remorse and little or no regard for others. Where little time is spent in prayer and with family, where attending church or participating in church activities have become the least of their options, where most of their time is spent on social media and to have a good time on weekends and weekdays, as we would say in our local parlance, to see woo. This culture is showing its ugly face across the country, and it does not in any way represent what we are and what we desire to become as a people and a nation. We are heading down a dangerous road and need to pause, acknowledge our wrongs, and keep God at the center of our lives. We are nothing, nothing without God. King James reminds us in Psalm chapter 32, verse 12, that, and I quote, "Happy is the nation whose God is the Lord, the people whom he has chosen as his heritage." End of quote. God has been good to us. Let us not do things that will cause us to lose favor with him. We are a God-fearing nation. Let this be always reflected in our words and our actions. May God bless us richly, and may God continue to bless this beautiful Commonwealth of Dominica. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, do have a fruitful and successful session. I thank you for your patience and courtesy of your attention. I thank you.
I shall now take leave of Her Excellency the President. House resumes.
Mr. Speaker, I move that a letter of thanks be forwarded to Her Excellency the President for what we all agree would have been a very profound and timely address to the House of Assembly and to the nation. And I do hope, Honorable Speaker, that Her Excellency's speech will be widely circulated by the Clerk of the House. Thank you very much.
Mr. Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that a letter of thanks be forwarded to Her Excellency the President. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I rise very briefly to extend our congratulations and best wishes to His Lordship Bishop Kendrick, who was ordained last night as the Bishop of the Diocese of Rose. We wish him all the best. We wish him God's blessings and guidance. I want to remind him that leadership is a very difficult task, and it can also be an extremely lonely place to be. But he must be reminded of the journey of Jesus on earth, and also Philippians 6-7 and Psalms 121. I also want to extend our profound congratulations to Kevin Hodge on being the second Dominican to score a Test century. He has demonstrated tenacity, commitment, dedication, and discipline, and all of this are now paying dividends for him. We also want to recognize the exemplary performance of Afanaz, who fell just short of his century. But no doubt, very soon, he shall get to that very important time. I also want to extend congratulations to Mrs. Annette Sanford for being the first woman elected as Kanalago Chief. And she has been elected at a time, Mr. Speaker, as Kanalago Chief, when there is unprecedented development taking place in the Kanalago territory by the government of the party. So we wish her all the best. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to express congratulations to Mrs. Annette Thomas Stanford on her resounding victory during the Kalinago Chief elections. Mrs. Stanford has made history in the Commonwealth of Dominica as the first ever Kalinago Chief, a true testament to her exceptional leadership and unwavering commitment to the people of the Kalinago territory and Dominica by extensions. Once again, congratulations to Mrs. Annette Stanford. Thank you.
Confirmation of minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I beg that the minutes of the meeting of Monday, 29th April 2024 be confirmed as circulated.
It has been moved and seconded that the minutes of the meeting of 29th April 2024 be confirmed as circulated. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. The minutes is confirmed as circulated.
Announcements by Speaker.
I received correspondence from the Office of the President, which I wish to draw to the attention of this Honorable House. I will now read them. A letter dated 20th June 2024, addressed to Honorable Jesma Paul Victor, Parliamentary Representative for the Salisbury constituency, in care of the House of Assembly. Dear Honorable Paul Victor, and this letter is written by Donald Blackmore, President Secretary, copied to the Honorable Prime Minister, copied to the Speaker of the House of Assembly, and copied to Mr. Anthony Charles, Parliamentary Representative for the Marigot constituency. And it reads, Dear Honorable Paul Victor, I have been directed to acknowledge receipt of your letter dated 20th June 2024, addressed to Her Excellency Sylvanie Burton, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, in which you advised of your intention to resign as Leader of Opposition in the Parliament of the Commonwealth of Dominica with immediate effect. In order to fill the vacant position of Leader of Opposition, the elected members of the House who do not support the government will be required to submit a joint letter to the President informing whom they now support to be appointed Leader of Opposition in accordance with Section 66 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Dominica. Thanks, and please be guided accordingly. Yours sincerely, Miss Donald Blackmore. That's the first letter or correspondence. Second one, dated July 3rd, 2024, addressed to the Honorable Speaker, signed by the President, Her Excellency Sylvanie Burton. Dear Honorable Speaker, I'm pleased to share with you a copy of a letter dated 3rd July 2024 from the Office of the President addressed to Senator Delbert Paris, conveying the decision of the President regarding the appointment of a Leader of the Opposition. Kindly inform the Honorable House of my decision on this matter at its next sitting. Yours sincerely, President, Excellency Sylvanie Burton. Letter written on the 3rd July, and it is addressed to Senator the Honorable Delbert Paris, and signed by President Secretary, copied to the Honorable Prime Minister, Speaker of the House, Senator Honorable Jesma Paul, Honorable Anthony Charles, Senator Honorable Laurie Victor, Senator Honorable Shakilia Vidal, and Senator the Honorable Lauren Henderson Reid. Dear Honorable Paris, your letter dated 20th June 2024, addressed to Her Excellency Sylvanie Burton, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, jointly signed by yourself, Senator the Honorable Laurie Victor, Senator the Honorable Shakilia Vidal, Senator the Honorable Lauren Henderson Reid, and Honorable Jesma Paul Victor, purportedly in accordance with the provisions of Section 66(2) of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Dominica, directing the President as to the appointment of the Leader of the Opposition, refers. I am to advise that Her Excellency, having given careful and deliberate consideration to your letter, Section 66, in particular subsections 2 and 6 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and precedents, has determined that unelected senators are not empowered to canvass the President, nor otherwise participate in the appointment of the leader of opposition, nor is the president, on the occasion of the appointment of the leader of opposition, required to take into account any views of unelected senators. I am to advise further that the former leader of opposition, having resigned from that office, there is no elected member of the House who appears to Excellency most likely to command the support of a majority of elected members of the House who do not support the government, nor is there any elected member of the House who appears to Her Excellency to command the support of the largest single group of elected members of the House who do not support the government. Accordingly, Her Excellency has determined that there is no elected member of the House who qualifies to be elected leader of the opposition in accordance with the provisions of Section 66 of the Constitution. Her Excellency has so decided. So, Honorable House, this is what I had to, that's my only announcement. So we may proceed. You would see, just as a speaker, I have signaled that there is no opposition leader, and that is why I respectfully changed the sitting position. So it's unfortunate, but this is the circumstance. So let's move on.
Presentation of papers.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay on the table the following papers. One, proclamation proroguing Parliament, SRO number 11 of 2024, and two, proclamation reconvening Parliament, SRO number 12 of 2024.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table. Draft estimates of revenue and expenditure for the financial year 2024-2025, economic and social review for fiscal year 2022-2023, value-added tax schedule amendment order 2024.
Government notices.
I beg to give notice that at a later stage of the proceedings, I will be moving the motions and taking all stages of the bill standing in my name on the order paper.
Statement by ministers. Public business, government business, motion.
Be it resolved that this Honorable House approves the estimates of expenditure for the financial year ending 30th June 2020, amounting to $1,486,951,793, the details of which are contained in the draft estimates of the Commonwealth of Dominica for the year ending 30th June 2025. Mr. Speaker, members of this Honorable House, distinguished guests, fellow Dominicans at home and abroad, good morning. Mr. Speaker, I rise to present the budget address for fiscal year 2024-2025. Thankful for the Lord's continuous blessings mercies, and protection over our people and our nation. His grace has guided and sheltered us. We are not afraid because we take comfort and inspiration from the words of Isaiah 41, that God is with us and that he will strengthen and help us. It is with this confidence, Mr. Speaker, that we continue to chart a path towards a progressive future for our citizens within a global environment beset by unprecedented social and economic challenges. We in the Caribbean continue to be disproportionately impacted by climate change and external shocks. The wars in Eastern Europe and the Middle East, global health crisis, and the debilitating effects of disaster undermine social stability and economic performance. These major events are causing supply chain disruptions and increasing cost of transportation, making it difficult for small island developing states like Dominica to import essential goods at reasonable cost and contributing to inflation, which profoundly impacts the economy. Mr. Speaker, climate change is an existential threat to our survival, impacting food security, health, and economic stability, especially in our region. We need to look no further than Hurricane Beryl, an early season Category 5 hurricane that wreaked havoc across many of our sister islands earlier this month. We express solidarity with the governments and people of the affected islands and extend heartfelt sympathies to the families who lost loved ones. The devastation of property, displacement of people, and loss of life and livelihoods are becoming all too common in a region bearing the brunt of a crisis not on its making. These increasingly severe storms carry significant financial risk for already strained economies, and we have had to divert valuable resources to address consecutive shocks and mitigate against the impact of climate events. Mr. Speaker, although this destruction caused by climate change is not as a result of our own doing, we are the ones who have had to bear the brunt of the impact and cost of reconstruction at a time when development assistance to our countries is not as readily available as it once was. Since 2015, government has borrowed a total of EC 673 million to respond to natural disasters and the COVID-19 pandemic. That is 112.1 million for Tropical Storm Erica, 244.1 million for Hurricane Maria, and 316.8 million to assist the country to manage and recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. Notwithstanding these increasing financial burdens, we continue to shoulder the full weight of responsibility and shield our citizens from additional economic hardship. Mr. Speaker, permit me at this time to update the Honorable House on our economic performance and outlook. Mr. Speaker, irrespective of the many challenges, this government has remained steadfast in its mission to manage the recovery, and I am pleased that the economy has rebounded. The International Monetary Fund reported that while the world economy grew at an estimated 3.2% in 2023, Dominica's economy saw growth of 4.7% during that same period. This marks the third consecutive year of growth for the Dominican economy, following growth of 6.9% in 2021 and 5.6% in 2022. Additionally, the economy is projected to continue along its current trajectory, with strong growth of 4.6% in 2024, plus at least 4.3% in 2025. This performance is being driven by the government's ambitious public sector investment program, robust wholesale and retail trade, a steady rebound in tourism, and increased agricultural production. The IMF indicated that global inflation is expected to decrease from an average of 6.8% in 2023 to 5.9% in 2024 and 4.5% in 2025. Historically, Dominica's inflation has remained below global levels due to the substitutional effects of local production and consumption. Therefore, according to the IMF, inflation in Dominica was lower than the global level, averaging 3.5% in 2023, and it is expected to continue falling to an average of 2.8% in 2024. We are encouraged by the results of the IMF's assessment of the performance of the economy, and we do hope that this downward trajectory in inflation will be reflected in the cost of goods on supermarket shelves. Mr. Speaker, in respect of the government's fiscal performance, preliminary data indicates that there has been a further improvement. The primary balance shifted from a deficit of 0.8% at the end of June 2023 to a surplus of 0.6% of GDP as of June 30th, 2024. This is mainly due to a favorable economic climate, which impacted positively on tax revenues, and deliberate action by government to contain and manage recurrent expenditure. Tax revenues increased by 3.1% over the previous year, while recurrent expenditure declined by 3%. Although tax revenues are expected to increase further by 3.3%, a primary deficit of 8.7% is forecasted for fiscal year 2024-2025, mainly due to a significant rise in capital expenditure for agriculture, digitalization, housing, the Roseau Enhancement Project, and the East Coast Road Project. However, beyond this fiscal year, as these projects come to an end and capital expenditure reduces, we expect improvements in fiscal balances as revenues continue to grow. There was an increase of 2.4% in total disbursed outstanding debt compared to the previous year. Central government debt is estimated at EC 1,507.4 million, while government guaranteed debt is estimated at EC 140.3 million. Total debt to GDP is estimated to be 89.4%, with central government debt to GDP at 81.7%. Mr. Speaker, it is certainly not easy for our small state to overcome the impacts of successive natural disasters, a global pandemic, global economic slowdown, supply chain and transportation issues, without it significantly affecting our fiscal position and fiscal space. Any objective observer will admit that Dominica, under the leadership of this government, has done a remarkable job in the second study. Mr. Speaker, we continue to direct our efforts towards implementing programs and projects which promote long-term economic growth, enhance social protection and human development, build resilience and preserve the environment. All of these are key factors for sustainable development. Despite significant progress in these areas, our work is not yet finished. It is against this backdrop that I present the budget proposal for fiscal year 2024-2025 under the theme, Partnering to Build a Platform for Sustainable Growth and Development. This fiscal year's budget proposal will advance current programs and projects, and at the same time, pursue new economic initiatives. Mr. Speaker, for fiscal year 2024-2025, I propose a total recurrent expenditure of $679.4 million, including those provided by law. The expenditures are allocated as follows. Office of the President, $1.2 million. Integrity in Public Office Commission, $0.5 million. Public and Police Service Commission, $0.4 million. The Legislature, $1.2 million. Audit Department, 1.1 million. Ministry of National Security and Legal Affairs, 60.6 million. Electoral Office, 1.9 million. Office of the Prime Minister, 10.4 million. Ministry of Finance, Economic Development, Climate Resilience and Social Security, 296.3 million. Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy, 9 million. Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training and National Excellence, 70.7 million. Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, 6.2 million. Ministry of Health, Wellness and Social Services, 81.9 million. Ministry of Environment, Rural Modernization and Kalinago Upliftment, 11.2 million. Ministry of Tourism, 20.6 million. Ministry of Culture, Youth, Sports and Community Development, 12.8 million. Establishment, Personnel and Training Department, 9.9 million. Ministry of Public Works, Public Utilities and the Digital Economy, 55 million. Ministry of Foreign Affairs, International Business, Trade and Energy, 22.8 million. Cabinet Office, 3.5 million. Ministry of Labor, Public Service Reform, Social Partnership, Entrepreneurship and Small Business Development, 2.2 million, totaling 679.4 million. The 5 highest recurrent expenditure allocations are as follows. The Ministry of Finance, Economic Development, Climate Resilience and Social Security is to receive 296.3 million, or 43.6% of the total recurrent expenditure. Of this sum, 126.8 million is allocated to debt services payments. 46.1 million is earmarked for retiring benefits, including gratuities, pensions, compassionate allowances, and non-contributory pensions, that's the over 65 program, while 7.4 million has been set aside for the payment of insurance premiums to the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Program to ensure adequate coverage against excess rainfall, earthquakes, and tropical cyclones. The Ministry of Health, Wellness, and Social Services receives the second largest allocation of 81.9 million, or 12.1% of the total recurrent expenditure. This government remains dedicated to promoting a healthy Dominica and will continue to invest in the health sector. The third highest amount of 70.7 million, or 10.4%, is allocated to the Ministry of Education, Human Resource, Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence. An amount of 60.6 million, or 8.9% of the total, is allocated to the Ministry of National Security and Home Affairs. And the Ministry of Public Works will receive 55 million, or 8.1%. The allocation for goods and services accounted for 35%, or 234.9 million, of total recurrent expenditure. The total budgeted for personal emoluments is 167.1 million, or 25%. This amount takes into account increases in some of the allowances paid to public officers. The amount set aside for retirement benefits, transfers, and subsidies is 144.6 million. That amount includes public assistance, grants, and payment to local, regional, and international entities. Interest payments are expected at 54.1 million, while debt amortization and contributions to the sinking fund are estimated at 73.2 million. Mr. Speaker, in response to the capital estimates for the fiscal year 2024-2025, I propose a total capital expenditure of 934.9 million, allocated as follows. Office of the President, 0.7 million. The Legislature, 0.1 million. Ministry of National Security and Legal Affairs, 4.3 million. Electoral Office, 0.8 million. Office of the Prime Minister, 490 million. Ministry of Finance, Economic Development, Climate Resilience, and Social Security, 10 million. Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy, 52.2 million. Ministry of Education, Human Resource, Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence, 22.8 million. Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, 70.5 million. Ministry of Health, Wellness, and Social Services, 7.5 million. Ministry of Environment, Rural Modernization, and Kalinago Upliftment, 41.2 million. Ministry of Tourism, 17.2 million. Ministry of Culture, Youth, Sports, and Community Development, 11.8 million. Establishment, Personnel and Training Department, 1.7 million. Ministry of Public Works, Public Utilities, and the Digital Economy, 164.8 million. Ministry of Foreign Affairs, International Business, Trade, and Energy, 32.8 million. Ministry of Labor, Public Service Reform, Social Partnership, Entrepreneurship, and Small Business Development, 6.5 million, totaling 934.9 million. Mr. Speaker, this government has made substantial investment in infrastructure, a fact often taken for granted, as we in Dominica have come to expect and demand nothing less. Our achievements are evident with the improvement in the quality of our road network, including community roads, sea defense walls, bridges, contemporary school structures, modern health and wellness centers, new hospitals, police stations, sports facilities, housing developments, and the extension of the runway and night landing capabilities at Douglas Charles Airport. These developments and many others have been achieved notwithstanding repeated macroeconomic shocks and disasters, and have laid the foundation for the improved quality of life and economic growth that we currently enjoy. This government's stated intent to build a resilient, dynamic Dominica necessitates that we continue to be visionary in our approach. We continue to pursue initiatives designed to grow our economy and foster the economic well-being of our people. Several of the initiatives that we are pursuing are interlinked and will create numerous opportunities, direct and indirect, for our people. Some of the obstacles to our development that are not external or climatic have been linked, for example, to our limited air access, a small population, high cost of energy, and inefficient systems. We have sought systematically to address this, and we have several major transformative projects in the pipeline that are at various stages of development that will help improve our tourism product and significantly increase visitor arrivals, create markets for our agricultural produce, create opportunities in the renewable energy sector, reduce the cost of doing business, and create efficiencies through digitalization. These include the construction of an international airport, a marina, a new cargo port, and a modern cruise village, where we are rehabilitating our road network, enhancing the city of Roseau, providing cheaper, reliable, renewable energy, and digitalizing government process and services. Mr. Speaker, our flagship project is the international airport. This top priority project is progressing at a steady pace, and I am pleased to report that construction is ahead of schedule. 3 of the 4 main box culvert crossings are now completed, and over 6 million of the 24 million cubic meters of earthworks for the airstrip and landslide building have been completed. By the end of this fiscal year, we expect to complete 80% of the earthworks and commence construction of the terminal and other ancillary buildings. The new international airport is being built with a capacity to handle up to 500,000 passengers per year. I want us to think for a moment of what that could mean for Dominica. This will lead to increased visitor arrivals, higher hotel occupancy rates, and more business for all those who are involved in the tourism sector. When this international airport becomes operational, it shall become a hub for economic activity, generating jobs and stimulating local business and attracting investments. The international airport will allow local businesses, including farmers, manufacturers, and small businesses with access to global markets. There will also be significant positive spillover effects due to the greater demand for goods and services, benefiting our people and businesses as more money circulates in the economy. Let us all recognize and support the pivotal role that the international airport will play in shaping a brighter and more progressive and prosperous future for our country. Government, therefore, continues to encourage every Dominican to prepare for the opportunities that will arise from this transformative project. Mr. Speaker, another milestone infrastructure project, the Cabritz Marina. The government has partnered with range developers of the Intercontinental Dominic Cabritz Resort for this project. The construction of the Marina Basin is estimated to take 12 to 18 months, with dredging of the site to commence in August 2024. Upon completion, the Marina will offer a range of services to operators of catamarans, yachts, including super yachts, and sport fishers. This includes fuel supplies, vessel security for crew and guests, transportation services, food and beverage services, and berthing slips. The modern designs and amenities are expected to triple the number of yacht calls to Dominica, considering our central location in the Eastern Caribbean. The Cabritz Marina will entice yachties to make Dominica their home base due to our people's warm and welcoming disposition, our low crime rate, and the ease of air travel to and from their country of residence that the new airport will bring. This will result in a sharp, sustained increase in stayover arrivals and hundreds of permanent jobs for Dominicans. The Marina will generate revenue and foreign exchange for the country and additional income for the Dominicans who are already engaged in the yachting industry, both directly and indirectly. The Marina will serve as a catalyst for economic growth and will stimulate the local economy and create new business opportunities and jobs for our people. The government is also in the process of securing financing for the construction of the new smart cargo port at Donkey Beach in Kenfield. With ongoing and planned investments and the anticipated sustainable growth in the economy, we need a cargo port capable of responding to increased trade. This new facility will be built to resilient standards to withstand climate effects and other environmental conditions that could negatively impact port operations, and will be equipped with smart technology to improve efficiency and reduce clearance times. A private developer is also undertaking preparatory works for the development of a new cruise village at Woodbridge Bay Port. This village will cater for cruise ships, ferry services, and duty-free shopping. We envision that this duty-free shopping zone will be another source to draw foreign exchange and investment to our country, fostering a business-friendly environment for both large and small retailers. It will also create an avenue for our local entrepreneurs to access a wider, diverse international clientele to sell their quality products. The influx of tourists and locals seeking tax-free bargains will result in higher sales volume and an overall boost for the economy. Our people can look forward to a range of job opportunities and prospects for business during the construction and operation of the cruise village. Mr. Speaker, the 4 transformative projects that I have described, among others, will result in a surge of visitors, boosting trade and economic activity, and equally important, create more sustainable jobs for our people. Mr. Speaker, roads serve as a crucial arteries that connect people, places, and opportunities. And their role in fostering economic growth, social integration, and overall development cannot be overstated. In any country, a well-developed road network reduces transportation costs, increases market accessibility, and boosts productivity. We take pride in our efforts over the past years to develop a high-quality road network throughout the island. Our latest ongoing major road project is the East Coast Road Project, from Boadiab to Hatton Garden via the Kalinago territory. This road is now 75% complete and has already spurred increased economic activity in that region. Access to essential services, work, and schools has improved. Safety for road users is enhanced, and the value of the land has increased, representing opportunity and higher incomes for property owners in this area. We thank the residents of Cassibrus, Deepa, Toronto, Mopa, Petit Soufriere, Saint-Sauvé, Good Hope, Atkinson, and the Kalinago territory for their patience and understanding while construction has been taking place. I am sure that now the project is nearing completion, they can appreciate and enjoy the comfort of a more robust and efficient road network. Mr. Speaker, we will commence 2 new road projects this year. I am pleased to inform the Honorable House that 2 local contractors have jointly won the tender for the rehabilitation of the Lubia to Granby Road. A contract will be awarded within the next 2 weeks, and work will start by October of this year. It is anticipated that this project will enhance the resilience of this road and the safety of road users and attract more economic activity to that area. Mr. Speaker, this Labour Party government will transform the city of Roseau into a more dynamic commercial and residential hub. Last November, Parliament approved a loan of $41 million US, equivalent to 110.7 million EC, for the continuation of the Roseau Enhancement Project. The planned improvement will beautify the city, alleviate traffic congestion, boost commercial activities, and enhance the comfort of residents, businesses, and visitors. The design is to rehabilitate 6 streets, namely River Street, Great George Street, King George V Street, Cock Street, Bath Road, and Independence Street, with new sidewalks and drainage systems are complete. We recognize the importance of this much-anticipated project in improving the quality of life of those who live and work in the city, and assure our citizens that the government is committed to its implementation and will minimize disruption as much as possible. Mr. Speaker, water is critically important to everything that we do. It is crucial for maintaining health and well-being and supporting livelihoods. The government of Dominica, therefore, continues to collaborate closely with the WASCO to strengthen the resilience and reliability of the island's water systems. Delivering water to homes and businesses, especially given Dominica's challenging terrain, is a very costly exercise. Despite the significant investments required to establish and restore access, particularly post-Maria, we have consistently shown our dedication to ensuring that every community in Dominica has access to potable water. Last fiscal year, we continued upgrades to Water Area 1, the largest water system, serving communities from Meru to Castle Comfort, which is approximately 45% of the population along our main commercial district, the city of Roseau. This project, which began in 2014, has so far cost 33 million, with 24 million financed through loans, while the government of Dominica and Dowasco contributed 9 million. A 6.5 million pipeline replacement project was also completed to facilitate the development of the new East Coast Road. In the current fiscal year, Dowasco will commence the implementation of its water sector strategic development plan, which aims to enhance resilience in 4 major water systems, namely Castlebrus, Mont John Rivier Syric and Grand Fork, Calibishi, and Kulibistri, Salisbury, and Grand Savant systems. These upgrades are expected to cost 36 million, with work scheduled to commence in October 2024 and projected for completion by March 2026. This project will be funded primarily by a grant from the government of the United Kingdom. Other major water projects to be implemented this year include: 1, Paybush Water Enhancement Project, funded together by the Caribbean Development Bank, the government of Dominica, and Dowasco to the tune of 2 million. And secondly, upgrades to the Penville water system and the Benz water system at a cost of 3.4 million to be funded by the government and Dowasco.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, an important component of our growth strategy is the development of our renewable energy sector. We believe economic development will be driven by a reliable, clean, stable, and reasonably priced energy supply, which will lower the cost of doing business and attract new green energy investments. The government of Dominica has made a strategic decision to invest in developing its geothermal potential to produce clean energy at a reduced cost. On December 5, 2023, Dominica achieved a significant milestone by entering into an agreement with OMA Technologies for the financing, construction, and operation of the geothermal power plant. On July 10, 2024, the first batch of power plant equipment was delivered to the site at Loda. Initial civil works commenced on July 14, and commissioning is scheduled for the end of December 2025. To facilitate the transition to renewable energy and reduce line losses, Dominica needs to upgrade its electricity transmission network. In June 2024, the government of Dominica secured EC 104 million loan from the World Bank to fund the new transmission system from Loda to Fokole. These initiatives will significantly improve efficiency and secure reliable electricity services for our citizens. Our journey to energy independence has been lengthy and expensive, but we are on the right track and close to completing this major project. We are also exploring the geothermal potential in the north of the country as a means of spurring industrial development on a large scale, and we will provide more information on that in the coming months. Mr. Speaker, this government has clearly outlined its plans for digital transformation in Dominica. We recognize that a key component of resilience and sustainable development is leveraging technology to enhance access and improve service delivery in both the public and private sectors. Over the past few years, we have witnessed a significant shift in how business is conducted within Dominica and internationally, driven by the introduction of new digital technologies. To capitalize on these opportunities, the government continues to build our citizens' capacities to operate in a digitalized environment. This year, we have provided training for micro, small, and medium businesses owners and managers to sell products online, manage online accounts, manage online content, and effectively use social media. We believe digital solutions can help businesses scale their operations, reduce costs, and improve customer interaction. This week, the government awarded grants to 77 small businesses in various sectors, including IT, Mr. Speaker, this included IT, music, retail, services, agro-processing, and food beverage to support the digitalization of their operations. Digital transformation is about innovation, efficiency, and enhanced customer experiences. In this spirit, the government is pleased to announce the launch of the Government of Dominica e-services portal, accessible at eservice.gov.dm. This web and mobile portal allows the public to submit applications, make payments, and access information on over 90 services. The portal is available 24 hours, 7 days a week, enabling users to apply and pay for birth, marriage and death certificates, marriage licenses, permits, and other services from anywhere in the world. This streamlined approach to conducting business will result in savings, convenience, and more efficient time management for our citizens. Our initiatives to be undertaken during this fiscal year include the implementation of an e-office and document management system and a digital signature framework for the public service. A contract for the design and installation of these two systems has already been awarded. Mr. Speaker, these systems will improve administrative efficiencies, lead to significant cost savings, and contribute to environmental sustainability. In addition, we are in the process of identifying a vendor to provide a digital system that will allow the government to make payments, particularly for social assistance, via cards instead of cash, eliminating the need for bulk cash processing. Under this system, recipients will receive cards and payments will be directly loaded onto them, offering a more secure and convenient means of payment. While the government focuses on digital transformation within the public sector, we call on the private sector to partner with us to build the digital economy. We encourage businesses to adopt digital payment methods, including mobile banking, credit and debit card payments, and online payments. Utilizing digital marketing, e-commerce platforms, and mobile applications to interact with customers can expand reach and increase revenue. We support these initiatives. The government is establishing a formal legislative framework to facilitate the digital economy and is taking measures to enhance cybersecurity for user protection. Mr. Speaker, for Dominica to realize the Sustainable Development Goals and the resilience targets envisaged by this government, we must continue to expand existing productive sectors and diversify our economy by introducing and facilitating new industries. Dominica is endowed with numerous natural resources that we must add value to and market to Dominicans and globally for financial returns. One of our main contributors to Dominica's development and growth is tourism. During the fiscal year 2023 to 2024, visitor arrivals increased by more than 4% compared to the previous year, despite global challenges and airlift issues. In the past 12 months, Dominica has received numerous accolades, including being named one of Reader's Digest's 20 best honeymoon destinations, Travel and Leisure's 50 best places to travel for 3 consecutive years, BBC's 10 sustainable travel destinations to visit in 2024, and the New York Times' 52 greatest places to travel in 2024. This month, Dominica also ranked number 5 on the Travel and Leisure list of the 25 best islands to visit around the world. Needless to say, Dominica is the only Caribbean island in the top 5. These recognitions, along with those I reported last year, highlight the success of our government's significant investments in the tourism sector, which are helping to solidify Dominica's status as a leading sustainable tourism destination in the world. We continue to improve and expand on our product offerings, and during this fiscal year, government will rehabilitate segments 4, 11, and 13 of the Waiti-Kubuli National Trail and begin the construction of a 1.5 million tourism reception facility at Champagne in Point Michel. This modern center will feature vending units, changing rooms, lockers, spa services, restaurants, bars, and open grass spaces for recreation, all in an effort to enhance visitor experience. Mr. Speaker, we are planning to upgrade all of our tourism sites on a phased basis. And this year, we'll finalize designs to transform 3 other major tourism sites, the Trafalgar Falls, Emerald Pool, and Titu Gorge. The designs for these will focus on making the sites more accessible and user-friendly while maintaining the characteristics of their natural environment. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to report that the cable car project in Rose Valley is progressing satisfactorily. This is an important project that is part of the overall vision to increase the variety of activities available to be experienced in the Nature Isle, and in keeping with our goal to make our sites accessible to all, regardless of age or physical ability. By the end of 2025, the world's longest cable car will be ready to transport visitors over the breathtaking and scenic tourist sites in the Rose Valley. More than 200 people are employed on this project, many from the Rose Valley, and at least 100 people will be permanently employed when it is commissioned. Mr. Speaker, the cable car's operation will enhance the tourist experience in Dominica and generate increased revenue, particularly for the people in the Rose Valley. While we await the completion of the international airport, we continue our efforts at improving and increasing airlift to the island. The extension of the Douglas Charles Airport runway is almost complete and will improve connectivity and access to key markets. It is a matter of some satisfaction to us that this extension is necessary to respond to the heightened demand for airlift into Dominica, as Dominica has become one of the most popular destinations in the Caribbean. Extending the runway will allow larger aircrafts to land, attracting more stayover tourists and business travelers to the island, which will boost tourism revenue. We are constantly in discussion with other airlines to secure more flights from key markets. To this end, Sunrise Airways made its inaugural landing in May 2024, while Win Air has launched flights between Dominica and Martinique, and American Airlines has added daily flights between Dominica and Miami during peak seasons. With the extension and grooving of the Douglas Charles runway, we are looking forward to successful completion of negotiations for a new direct flight from the United States starting this fiscal year. Mr. Speaker, to complement the major investments that we are making in attracting more visitors to our shores, we are also addressing the increased demand for accommodation that will arise. We expect that within the next 2 years, 5 new internationally branded hotels constructed under the Citizen by Investment Program will be completed. The combination of all of these investments will help us achieve our goal of attracting 500,000 stayover visitors and 1 million cruise visitors by 2030. Mr. Speaker, it should be noted that these goals cannot be achieved solely with investment by public sector. Tourism is everybody's business. It's a familiar theme, which means that every citizen must play a role in the success of the tourism sector. However, this task requires residents to play their part owners of derelict vehicles, garages, shops, stalls, businesses, and homes along our streets, community roads, and highways must adopt their surroundings to ensure that they keep clean and green. Mr. Speaker, each of us has a duty and a responsibility as a citizen or resident of Dominica to protect our environment. We need to engage in better waste management practices. We need to engage in beautification and cleanliness activities in order to preserve the environment of this nature island. Even those of us who think we have nothing to gain from tourism may not realize that when the taxi and the tour operators make money, they can buy more from our shops. If we have more visitors, our hotels, restaurants, and bars will have more customers, and the government gets more revenue to improve on and provide more services. In order to cement ourselves as a premier tourism destination, we must ensure quality customer service throughout Dominica and ensure that we keep our surroundings clean and beautiful at all times. We must not only rely on the wonderful work of the National Employment Program in cleaning and beautifying our communities, but we should take personal responsibility to ensure that we too play our part by planting flowers and trees and disposing of our garbage responsibly. Mr. Speaker, another sector which is expected to receive significant benefits from government's ongoing investment is agriculture. That is why this government is continuing its efforts to boost agriculture's contribution to GDP to 700 million by 2030. We believe there is significant potential for growth in this sector, driven by the increasing global demand for food security. We will continue to implement our plans as articulated in the two previous budget addresses, focusing on increasing agricultural production, enhancing agro-processing output, improving Dominica's brand, and expanding our market share locally, regionally, and internationally. We are investing strategically in developing robust crop production systems, including expanding the stock of high-quality planting materials to achieve consistently higher yields and quality. Over the past year, we distributed more than 390,000 plantlets and seedlings with the assistance of the Chinese Agricultural Technical Mission, and in the next 12 months, the government plans to provide at least 140,000 banana and tree crop planting materials to farmers. The recently commissioned 11.4 million Dominica China Agricultural Science Complex building, gifted by the People's Republic of China, features a tissue culture lab capable of producing 500,000 seedlings annually. This lab will utilize cutting-edge technology to develop disease-free planted materials and includes a seed cold storage room for establishing a national seed bank as part of our food security and post-disaster resilience plan. The government and people of Dominica express our profound appreciation to the government and people of China for this very timely gift. Additionally, we are rehabilitating plant propagation facilities and introducing new crop varieties at the Chinese Agricultural Technical Mission at 1 Mile to diversify and increase output, and also a citrus certification facility with a capacity to propagate 50,000 citrus plants annually will be constructed at Londonderry this year. To further support crop production, new irrigation and water storage systems are being commissioned at various locations. Ongoing projects include the installation of a new system at Salisbury, which will benefit over 60 farmers. Mr. Speaker, as you are aware, government established a revolving fund to assist Dexia to meet its commitments to farmers and provide a credit facility to hucksters to facilitate increased production and export. This facility has restored farmers' confidence in the agricultural sector, through a guaranteed market for their produce. During the period June 2023 to June 2024, $1,656,752.40 was drawn down from the facility. This facility has enabled Dexia to purchase and pay farmers within 48-hour window after purchase. Significantly, about $300,000 of bay oil was purchased, restoring faith among producers and reinforcing the government's commitment as a facilitator connecting producers to the market. Dexia has also upheld the government's commitment to support import substitution by assuring white potato farmers a confirmed hassle-free market for their produce. We have secured markets for a variety of crops, in particular plantains, dashing, and passion fruit. This year, Dexia will begin entering into contracts for consistent supply of these produce. Government has engaged a consultant whose main responsibility is to find market for Dominica's produce. Therefore, it's envisaged that by the end of the fiscal year, additional opportunities will be secured. In livestock production, our immediate goals are to reduce Dominica's poultry and meat imports by 30 to 40%, increase exports of fresh products, and achieve protein security by 2030. Mr. Speaker, in the past year, we expended $5 million to subsidize materials and labor for 170 beneficiaries to construct livestock structures. 93 of these structures have been completed. We also completed the rehabilitation of the central livestock farm. Over the next 2 years, the government will implement the sheep and goat development program with investments in artificial insemination, embryo transfer, silvopasture, pelletizing feeds, pasture improvement, and fencing. We will also expand broiler production with key investments such as the reconstruction of the abattoir at a cost of $6.5 million. Also, construction of an animal feed mill and development of local hatcheries. These investments are expected to increase livestock production, thereby decreasing our import on meat. Additionally, this government recognizes the importance of the culture industry. In this regard, 15 farmers will receive 100 hives to increase the production of honey by 100%. This will ensure a more reliable supply of honey for consumption, as well as for the manufacturing of byproducts of honey. Mr. Speaker, the government of Dominica committed last year to allocate funds annually to rehabilitation of feeder roads, and we are honoring this promise. In the past year, we repaired the Makoto, Mopo, and Chatwell roads. This fiscal year, 2 allocations under the Ministry of Public Works capital budget will address the most challenging sections of farm roads serving the highest number of productive farmers, such as the Kahome Road, Petit Makushri Road in Salisbury, Station Road in La Plaine, Dalfossi Road in Grand Colibri, Neighbor Atley Road in Layu Park, Captain Bruce Feeder Road in Marigot. Mr. Speaker, we continue to work to address the concerns of the farmers in relation to farm labor. At present, a farm labor strategy is being finalized. It will include a migrant component similar to the program implemented by the Government of Canada, as well as an entrepreneurship component and a mechanization component, which will include skills training. Mr. Speaker, permit me at this juncture to update the Honorable House on the progress we have made in the development of the blue economy. We are attracting investments from both the public and private sectors to realize increased benefits and diversify the economy. In fishing, we are improving infrastructure and providing training, vessels, and equipment to fisher folk. $3.2 billion has already been spent on the training of boat builders, construction of molds and prototypes, as well as procurement of materials for the construction of 50 boats. During this fiscal year, contracts will be awarded to boat builders for the construction of at least 30 of these boats. Furthermore, we will enhance the fish landing sites at Bioche, Dubla, Maho, Scotshead, Stowe, and Saint-Sauveur, while the fish vending areas at Fokole and Newtown will be upgraded as well. Mr. Speaker, we have traditionally focused on the fisheries and tourism aspects of the blue economy. But since 2022, this government has outlined a clear path to capitalize on the new opportunities within the sector. One key initiative is the establishment of the world's first sperm whale reserve. To this end, we are ensuring all prerequisites are in place. We have determined the exact location for the reserve, covering an area of 923.3 square kilometers, approximately 12 nautical miles off the west coast of Dominica in the Caribbean Sea, representing 3.2% of Dominica's exclusive economic zone. This location was selected based on an analysis of critical areas for the whales with minimal impact on shipping and trade. We have completed stakeholder consultations on the draft legislation and are incorporating their feedback. This legislation provides for the creation of a sperm whale office, a new licensing regime, and a detailed sperm whale management plan. We expect to present the final draft legislation to the House by October 2024 and to establish the reserve by November 1, 2024. That is in time for the 2024-2025 tourist season starting in October 24. Additionally, preparations are underway to establish the Global Regenerative Climate Research Institute at the Dominica State College. This marine institute, in collaboration with Common Earth, UK, will focus on research and development in aquaculture, mariculture, blue technologies, coral and marine life research, and restoration and scientific research. Mr. Speaker, another initiative within the blue economy is the development and commercialization of CMOS. Although CMOS is a vital component of the blue economy, its full potential remains untapped in Dominica. There is potential to produce CMOS on a large scale for both local consumption and export. Therefore, the government has begun increasing investments to boost CMOS production. Last fiscal year, we provided equipment, training, and planting material to CMOS farmers. This year, we plan to further increase CMOS production by identifying new production sites and producers. We are currently supporting the establishment of an ex-situ coral nursery in Soufriere in collaboration with the Nature Island Dive Water Sports Operation and Ocean Forward. This coral restoration initiative is an adaptive measure to mitigate some coastal impacts. This is a timely intervention given the impacts of climate change on coastal resources. Rising sea temperatures, sedimentation, coral bleaching, coral diseases, and invasive species threaten not only the livelihoods of coastal communities, but also the ecosystem that sustain them. Mr. Speaker, we're encouraged by the quality and quantity of Dominican products in the market. Visit any supermarket in the city, and you will see the wide array of local products on the shelves. We commend our agro-processors for their innovative spirit and will continue to assist them to expand and grow their enterprises. Mr. Speaker, in addition to the agricultural production to achieve $700 billion in agricultural contribution to GDP by 2030, Dominica must enhance its agro-processing and value-added capabilities. There is potential for more local produce to be processed and packaged or used as raw material for the manufacturing of new products for local and export markets. The government has been working with agro-processors to increase production. We have provided grants, equipment, loads through the aid bank, and duty-free concessions to help reduce the cost of production and increase their efficiency and competitiveness. More support will be provided to agro-processors in this fiscal year. In addition to this support, we are responding to the request for space for agro-processors to operate. To this end, government, with the assistance of the Caribbean Development Bank, is finalizing the terms of reference for the design of a production facility for agro-processors. In the interim, an amount of $1 million has been allocated in this year's budget to support rental of hubs in at least 2 locations to provide additional space for small agro-processors to increase their production. Mr. Speaker, our investment in agriculture and agro-processing will not reap the anticipated benefits without public input. We are calling on all Dominicans to eat what we grow. Let us make informed choices about the food we consume and prioritize purchasing local products. Consuming local products and locally manufactured products increases demand within the agricultural sector, resulting in greater benefits for our farmers and the economy. We also encourage farmers to adopt sustainable farming methods, best practices for food safety, and ensure reliability and consistency of supply to markets. We are creating an enabling environment and supportive framework for the advancement of the agricultural sector, but we will need the participation of all stakeholders to meet our goals for food and nutrition security. Mr. Speaker, government continues to support micro, small, and medium enterprises through strategic partnerships and innovative programs. We aim to create a conducive environment for entrepreneurship to thrive, build wealth, and drive economic prosperity. In addition to the training, technical advice, and marketing support, we have provided access to financing through 2 critical facilities: loans from the aid bank, as well as guarantees for loans taken under the Eastern Caribbean Partial Guarantee Program, which is offered locally by the National Bank of Dominica. Furthermore, last year we introduced a fiscal incentive licensing program, similar to that which exists for large businesses. Under this program, MSMEs are able to benefit from duty-free concessions for importing equipment, raw materials, and supplies. Interested MSMEs may apply through the Small Business Unit. Mr. Speaker, the government of Dominica is committed to the development of comprehensive legislation that allows for safe access to cannabis products for medicinal and therapeutic use, while creating economic opportunities for growers and processors of the cannabis plant. In 2022, the government demonstrated its commitment to formalizing this sector by appointing a national task force to review existing legislation and develop a regulatory framework for the controlled distribution of cannabis and its various byproducts. A consultant legal draftsperson has been engaged to draft the legislation required to provide the solid legal foundation and framework necessary to enable Dominica to fully capitalize on and benefit from the economic potential of the growing medicinal cannabis industry. Mr. Speaker, upon the submission and passage of this legislation through Parliament, we will proceed with the development of a facility for the regulated cultivation and processing of cannabis byproducts for export, including oils, beauty, and skincare products. This initiative aims to create a sustainable industry with significant potential for generating revenue, creating jobs, and attracting investment opportunities. Also in this fiscal year, we will establish a cannabis authority and appoint a board of directors to oversee and manage the cannabis industry. To assist and to guide us through the launching of this new industry, we will engage Dr. Marshall Emmanuel, a Dominican-born expert on cannabis, as our consultant advisor. Dr. Emmanuel has provided similar advice to several other countries. Mr. Speaker, I want to reassure the socially vulnerable people of Dominica that we have allocated funds to sustain all of the government's social programs, all. These include the public assistance program, the foster care program, support for juveniles in conflict with the law, the centenarian program, the non-contributory pension for those 65 and older, the Yes We Care program, textbook scheme, uniform allowance, school transfer grant, and the school feeding program. Our extensive portfolio of social assistance programs is unparalleled in the history of Dominica. As a compassionate, people-centered administration, we will continue to assist the socially vulnerable. This is a duty we uphold, a commitment that aligns with our values, and we will not abandon our responsibility to protect the vulnerable. During the last fiscal year, we handed over 249 homes. This year, Mr. Speaker, we'll be handing over an additional 361 homes. This is to ensure that our citizens have decent homes and can feel secure during severe weather. This is in line with our policy of social protection and people-centered development to enhance the quality of life and standard of living of every Dominican. Notwithstanding our progress in increasing Dominica's resilient housing stock for the vulnerable, the demand for home ownership nationally remains high. In the last fiscal year, the government sold 50 residential lots to applicants at various locations. In this fiscal year, government will make available for sale 163 lots at concessionary rates at Jimit, Hillsborough Garden, Cotton Hill, Union Estate, Canefield East, and Cabana View, formerly known as Jumbie Peace near Wesley. We also await Physical Planning Division approval for the future housing development at Warner. The banks and the credit unions have agreed to give special consideration, offering favorable mortgage rates and conditions. This project underscores our dedication to creating sustainable housing solutions for young professionals, public officers, and Dominicans living abroad. I encourage our citizens, especially the youth, to actively participate in this ongoing housing revolution by investing in land and home ownership. Don't shy away from taking a mortgage to build a home, which can also offer the opportunity for a second income through rental. This approach will help create generational wealth and contribute to the growth and stability of our communities. Mr. Speaker, we will all agree that housing is more than just four walls and a roof. It is the cornerstone of stability, security, and a catalyst for growth and prosperity. Safe and reliable housing provides a solid foundation for individuals and families to build better lives and contribute meaningfully to society. With this in mind, the government has been focusing on the relocation of communities impacted by disaster to ensure the safety and security of residents. Of the housing units to be constructed this fiscal year, 35 will be built in the first phase on a new development site in Casabros to relocate the communities of Petit Soufriere, Saint-Sauveur, and Good Hope to a safer location. This project will commence in the last quarter of 2024. In addition, designs have been submitted to the Physical Planning Division for the relocation of Campbell residents as well. Our investment in housing development has stimulated economic growth, creating jobs for the architects, engineers, contractors, construction workers, and suppliers while driving demand for materials, services, and goods. By prioritizing housing as a crucial part of our social and economic strategy, we are fostering stronger, healthier, and more equitable communities. Mr. Speaker, Dominica's education sector remains a top priority to this government. We are building a modern education system that meets the demands of 21st century students, empowering young people to be active and successful participants in an increasingly competitive global environment. To this end, we are providing our children every opportunity to excel in the classroom. A crucial aspect of effective learning is the provision of clean, modern, child-friendly spaces for students to reach their full potential. This financial year, we commenced the highly anticipated construction of 6 schools funded by the government of the People's Republic of China. The Goodwill Secondary School is making rapid progress, with the first and second floors of the classroom block nearing completion. The foundations of the technical block and canteen are complete, and excavation works on the administrative block will begin this week. Foundation work is at an advanced stage at the Thibault and Belvishope primary schools, while preliminary works are ongoing at Kalibishi, Sineku, and Tetmon. As previously announced, the Thibault Primary School will serve as a center for students with special needs, ensuring they receive dedicated instructions in a supportive and effective environment, enabling students to reach their full potential. This special needs center will provide individualized attention and special curriculum and resources. The government is committed to reforming the education system to better prepare students with the diverse skills needed to leverage new opportunities and thrive in a changing global environment. The Goodwill Secondary School will be established as a center of excellence for technical vocational education and training that is aiming to create a cadre of skilled and empowered youth capable of contributing to economic development. The Center of Excellence will include facilities for training delivered by skilled professionals in auto mechanics, woodwork, garment production, air conditioning and refrigeration installation and repair, electricity and electronics, and home management, among other things. We also hope to foster partnership with businesses and organizations to facilitate on-the-job learning experiences. Efforts to enhance early childhood development continue with funding from the OECS Pearl project. Upgrades have been completed at the Keleblora and Salibia primary schools. These early childhood development rooms now include washrooms, office space for teachers, and new furniture. The refurbishment has thus far cost $220,000. Ongoing works at the Bagatelle Primary will soon be followed by upgrades at Cassibros and Jones Bopier Primary. A new early childhood center at the Baroness Patricia Scotland Primary School, funded by the Barrier Holder Foundation, is complete. Mr. Speaker, to provide increased access to quality education, we are constructing a new, modern, and conducive Dominica Grammar School, the largest secondary school in the Rosa catchment area, which has a proud legacy of accomplished graduates who have made significant contributions to the development of our country. The state-of-the-art Dominica Grammar School will be completed this year and will comprise new classroom blocks, an auditorium, and an administrative block, as well as refurbishment of the existing classroom blocks A and B. Last fiscal year, renovation work on the Block C classrooms at the Dominica State College was completed. Renovation works at a cost of $2.7 million is ongoing on classrooms, offices, and hallways of Blocks A and B, with completion expected in time for the reopening of the new semester. This is part of the government's commitment for comprehensive rehabilitation of the Dominica State College, including the revamping of the agriculture and auto mechanics programs, establishment of a hospitality institute, and improvement in accommodation for both teachers and staff to ensure we have a more conducive environment for learning and success. Mr. Speaker, I wish to emphasize, to support the government's investment in education, we must also emphasize the shared responsibility of teachers, parents, and students in the success of the education system. Mr. Speaker, it would be remiss of us to discuss sports in the Parliament today without acknowledging the outstanding performances of our national heroes, Kavim Hodge and Alec Atanaz, in the ongoing festival. Kavim Hodge has demonstrated tenacity, discipline, and impressive skills, and his accomplishments alongside his friend and teammate Alec Atanaz have brought immense pride and joy to the people of Dominica and the Caribbean. Mr. Speaker, we wonder why it took so much time for Kavim Hodge to be on the team. Nonetheless, he's here now. We extend our heartfelt congratulations to both of them and are confident that the sky is the limit for these two Dominican cricketing superstars. Their continued success is not only a source of national pride, but also a beacon of inspiration for aspiring athletes, proving that Dominica can indeed produce top-level sports professionals. Earlier this year, we also witnessed the impressive performance of young Stephen Pascal, who captained the West Indies under-19 cricket team during the International Cricket Council Youth Cup in South Africa. Addison James secured bronze in the under-20 boys category at the Caribbean Games. Dominica also won the boys and girls basketball and boys volleyball at the Windward Island School Games, contributing to our overall second-place finish. Additionally, Dominica placed third in the regional under-16 netball tournament, and Denick Luke won a bronze medal in the under-23 800 meters race at the North American, Central American, and Caribbean Athletics Association Championship in July of 2023. Dominica also shone on the international stage earlier this year when triple jumper Thea Lafort won our first gold medal at the World Indoor Athletics Championship. There is every indication, Mr. Speaker, that Thea Lafort is on course to medal at the Paris Olympics, and we send her well wishes from the government and people of Dominica for success at all these important games. We extend our congratulations to these young achievers and the many others who have excelled in the past year. As a demonstration of our commitment to advancing sports in Dominica and helping more of our youth achieve similar sporting glory, the government has established the National Sports Council and appointed former elite international cricket umpire Billy Doctorow as the chair. This council will be tasked with improving sports management, reviewing current sports legislation, and finalizing a comprehensive national sports policy. We are also continuing to make significant investments in sports infrastructure across the island, including a project to install lighting systems on 8 playing fields. So far, lights have been installed at Maho, Vickers, Grand Fort, Bellevue Chopin, Anse de May, while work continues on the Grandvilla, Centre Grande, and Soufriere playing fields. The government is upgrading the Wharton Waven, Woodfordale playing fields and constructing new outdoor hard courts in Penville, Portsmouth, and La Plaine. Additionally, Additionally, designs are being finalized for the construction of an indoor court in Portsmouth. And this year, we will undertake upgrades to the Daly's playing field and the Trafalgar basketball facility. Mr. Speaker, I wish to emphasize that our investments in sports infrastructure are not just about the physical structures. They are about fostering healthier and more connected communities. We must actively use these facilities. Let us not allow these investments to go to waste. Engaging in activities such as exercise groups, family sports days can strengthen community bonds and promote positive physical and mental health. The rise of non-communicable diseases in Dominica is a serious concern. Conditions like diabetes, hypertension, and heart disease are becoming more prevalent. Regular physical activity is a proven method to combat these ailments. By utilizing our sports facilities, we can encourage healthier lifestyles and reduce the incidence of NCDs, thereby fostering a more productive nation. Mr. Speaker, as all of us are aware, this government has been relentless in its quest to ensure health and wellness for all citizens. This is evident in the significant sums invested in health infrastructure, equipment, supplies, and human resources. We are thankful to God that this Dominica Labour Party government has been able to build 15 new state-of-the-art health and wellness facilities. This includes 2 modern hospitals, outfitting with cutting-edge equipment at par with many large countries across the world. In addition to these new amenities, government has hired a number of specialists to enhance the quality of existing services, as well as offer a variety of new health services which were not previously available in Dominica. For example, we have engaged a neurosurgeon. As a result, neurological surgeries are now being performed at the Dominica China Friendship Hospital, and we have established a new neuro outpatient clinic. Other new medical interventions and services are available in cardiology, radiology, anesthesia, ophthalmology, and vascular surgery and circulatory conditions. In the case of cardiology and radiology, the new services are as a direct result of capacity building of clinical and clinical support staff through a technical agreement between the government of Dominica and the People's Republic of China. Another new service, which was introduced last fiscal year, is nutritional and dietary counseling to patients on the medical ward. Patients are sensitized on proper diet for the medical conditions and a meal plan to prepare for patients upon discharge. Mr. Speaker, these deliberate targeted investments in health have resulted in improved health services, as well as a more authentically pleasing and comfortable environment for the patients, families, and staff. It is important to note, Mr. Speaker, that the government has delivered these technologically advanced and costly medical services to the public at absolutely no additional charge. Notwithstanding the significant improvements we have made, there are some other critical areas which the government is addressing to further enhance patient outcomes, as well as the patient and family experience when receiving care at our facilities. I speak specifically here about the new laws to better regulate health services, including regulation of health practitioners. Secondly, the establishment of more appropriate organizational substructures to manage and supervise day-to-day patient care. Thirdly, strengthening of human resources, including more training and better compensation for doctors, nurses, and other service providers, and engagement of more providers. Fourth, an integrated IT system, which will provide secure gathering and storing of important patient information and making this information readily available to medical personnel engaged in providing care to the respective patients. And last, a better system supported by technology to manage the procurement and distribution of medicine and supplies. I have been advised by the Minister of Health that 5 new health-related bills have been finalized after consultation with numerous stakeholders, and these bills will be taken to the House for consideration no later than October of this year. A medical professional bill and a nursing professional bill, which will provide a more up-to-date framework for doctors and nurses to operate. Importantly, it will require them to engage in continuous learning so that patients can benefit from new advances in medicine and top-quality care. A pharmacy bill and a laboratory bill will provide a strong regulatory framework to facilitate oversight of the operations of pharmacies and labs and ensure that the required standards are kept both at public and private facilities. And thirdly, a digital health bill will, among other things, provide for the automation of health records and the necessary security requirements to support this automation. This new regulatory framework is expected to greatly contribute to improvement in services as healthcare providers, patients, and families will operate within the prescribed standards and requirements. To improve patient care and outcomes, increase efficiency, and to acknowledge the special skills of our nurses by providing greater opportunities for upward mobility, government has approved a new staffing structure for the nursing service. This new structure will take effect from January 1, 2025. It will include a chief nursing officer, a director of hospital nursing services, 2 deputy directors for hospital nursing services, and the director for public health nursing services. Staff nurses will now be classified as registered nurse 1 and registered nurse 2. And nursing assistants will now be classified as licensed practical nurse 1 and licensed practical nurse 2. A new level of senior family nurse practitioner has also been created. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, new positions have been created for the following specializations: pediatric nurse, critical care nurse, oncology nurse, orthopedic nurse, geriatric nurse, and nurse anesthetist, as well as for support services, including operating room scrub aid and dialysis aid. To ensure that the new structure achieves the desired objective, we have decided that all public sector nurses will remain employed by central government and be available for assignment throughout the state's healthcare system. This will facilitate greater flexibility in the assignment of nurses. Mr. Speaker, our next action is to implement a new structure for medical services. Government is currently reviewing a proposal which was prepared by the specialist doctors assigned to the Dominica Hospital Authority. Once this exercise is complete, we intend to approve and implement the new structure during this fiscal year. Another major advancement in health, the new health information management system, will begin very shortly. EC 15.4 million contract has been awarded for the design, supply, and installation of a health management and information system. This system aims to revolutionize and modernize the operations of the healthcare services in Dominica. Patients' records will be stored electronically and be readily available to all healthcare providers within our hospitals and health centers. The new health management and information system will facilitate quicker, more efficient care, and ultimately better patient experience and outcomes. In addition, the system will facilitate the generation of medical reports and payments of bills, a stock management system to facilitate the procurement, distribution, and monitoring of the stock of medicines and other supplies, which will also be a feature of this new IT system. Mr. Speaker, while we await the implementation of this new health management IT system, government has taken steps to strengthen the system of procurement and distribution of medical supplies. We invited a team from the OECS Pharmaceutical Procurement Division to undertake an assessment of our procurement and distribution systems. Several recommendations were made and have since been implemented. I am happy to report that the OECS has advised that our procurement system has met all acceptable standards, including the availability of the approved medicines and supplies. Similar monitoring missions will be conducted at least once a year. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to make strategic investments to provide quality healthcare services to our population. However, as a medical doctor and a former Minister of Health, I wish to remind each of us that our health begins with us. The high incidence of NCDs placing a significant social, economic, and financial burden on our society. It causes a strain on the healthcare system, affects family life, and impacts the overall development of our country as more of our people become incapacitated or succumb to these illnesses. We must make a conscious effort to plant fruit trees in our yards and communities and make local juices. To this end, with effect from September 1, 2024, government will increase excise tax on sugar-sweetened beverages. By $1 per liter, and alcohol and tobacco by 75 cents per liter and per kilogram, respectively. We must take action to help reduce on the high incidence of NCDs in our country. Let us, as a people, decide from today to act more responsibly and greater attention to our wellness and well-being so that we can live healthier and, God willing, longer lives. Mr. Speaker, we recognize the vital role that human resource in the public sector plays in developing our economies, building resilience, and delivering effective services to the public. Our commitment to public and police officers remains a top priority for this government. We know that the job security is foremost in the minds of our officers. We are pleased that in the last financial year, a total of 292 officers in the public and police were appointed. Congratulations to all of the appointees, including 71 teachers and 59 nurses. Additionally, we implemented phase 1 of the organizational review and reclassification of the public service last year. This phase introduced a revised salary structure, leading to varying salary increases for over 2,900 public and police officers. As a result of the job evaluation, 73 positions were upgraded, allowing some officers to move up to 3 levels on their salary scale. These changes, which took effect from September 1, 2023, resulted in a monthly wage bill increase of $1.2 million, totaling $14 million annually. This is a clear indication that notwithstanding the global economic challenges, this government continues to invest heavily in its public offices. This year, phase 2 of this reclassification will begin, focusing on implementing recommendations regarding allowances for public officers. Provisions have been made in this financial year's budget for the payment of the increases in the allowances, and additional public service positions are being evaluated for implementation. Mr. Speaker, 2 years ago, the government implemented a new structure for the secondary school, creating new positions at various levels. Many teachers have since received permanent appointments in these positions. The government is also committed to the professional development of public and police officers. Over the past year, 567 officers received training in report writing, data analysis, information technology, communication, and events management. This investment in human capital underscores our commitment to excellence in governance. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Prime Minister declared at the United Nations in September 2017, shortly after the devastation caused by Hurricane Maria, that Dominica would rebuild as the world's first climate resilient country. Since then, we have made substantial progress, initially led by the Climate Resilience Execution Agency of Dominica, CRID, from 2019 until its conclusion in December 2023. Currently, this effort has been transitioned to the Climate Resilience Execution Unit, which was established in February of 2024 within the Ministry of Finance, Economic Development, Climate Resilience, and Social Security. Out of necessity, we have invested in constructing hurricane-resistant homes and public buildings, procured advanced meteorological equipment and communication systems to ensure timely warning to our citizens. We are restoring and protecting our forests to mitigate climate change impacts and promoting sustainable agricultural practices to reduce import dependence and enhance food security. This government has also invested in various sectors such as tourism and renewable energy to decrease reliance on a single industry and diversify the economy. Financial and technical support to local businesses to foster a robust economic foundation continues. Our key initiatives include developing a geothermal energy plant for sustainable and resilient energy, strengthening healthcare infrastructure, and constructing and retrofitting disaster-resistant schools. These efforts are part of our broader strategy to build a climate-resilient nation, serving as an example to other countries facing similar challenges. Mr. Speaker, in recent years, we have intensified efforts to educate the population on disaster preparedness and climate change adaptation, empowering local communities to participate in resilient building activities and decision-making processes. We continue to promote sustainable land management and the protection of marine and terrestrial ecosystems to preserve Dominica's rich biodiversity and natural habitats. Dominica has embraced technological advancement to enhance our resilience, integrating information and communication technologies across sectors such as education, healthcare, and governance is improving efficiency and accessibility. Mr. Speaker, our journey towards resilience demonstrates the strength and determination of our people and underpins our growth agenda for this fiscal year 2024-2025. By integrating environmental sustainability, social development, technological innovation, and economic diversification, we are establishing a robust framework for a resilient future. Mr. Speaker, we must all play our part in reducing carbon emissions to limit global warming. In Dominica, we are actively taking action to do this as part of our commitment to transition to 100% renewable energy by 2030. Our geothermal development efforts play a key role in that regard. We are also seeking to reduce the use of fossil fuels in the transportation industry. This year, we'll focus on transitioning to low-carbon transport through the phased implementation of a national e-mobility project financed by the Green Climate Fund, which includes the establishment of 13 charging stations at strategic locations around the country, the introduction of electric vehicles for public transportation, providing concessionary financing to encourage the purchase of electric vehicles, among other initiatives. Mr. Speaker, sadly though, minimal action has been taken by these developed and industrialized countries to mitigate this unsustainable situation. Although many have pledged financial support to small developing states like Dominica, which have been significantly impacted by destructive weather events, few have fulfilled their promises. We are grateful to those who have contributed, but the administrative processes to access these resources must be streamlined. Mr. Speaker, Dominica has made significant progress in environmental restoration and preservation. Following Hurricane Maria, the government launched a forest and watershed restoration initiative, producing 350,000 plants by May 2024 and planting 300,000 trees in various parts of our country, including Lubia, Jimit, Sylvania, La Roche, Rosalie, Hampstead, and Kulibistri. Several ecotourism sites and trails were also rehabilitated, and access to and management of national parks were enhanced with US $3.5 million in financing from the Global Environment Fund, GEF. Other achievements include the implementation of the Green Climate Fund Enhanced Direct Access project to enhance climate adaptation and resilience, rehabilitate crucial infrastructure like drains and culverts, and integrate disaster risk management into the agricultural sector. Our engagement with the Green Climate Fund will continue this year as the government seeks to increase Dominica's resilience to the impacts of climate change and reduce our carbon footprint. Focus will be placed on developing the capacities of ministries and agencies to implement their components of the Climate Resilience and Recovery Plan, enhancing and enabling environments to facilitate investments in low-carbon initiatives and direct financial investments. Government has also secured grant funding from the Green Climate Fund, totaling $172.8 million to support investments over the next 3 years. $108 million of this amount will be used to develop an integrated coastal zone management project. This project will, among other things, to provide new coastal infrastructure, such as seawalls, breakwater, and other structures to protect Dominica's coastline, to help coastal communities build their resilience to climate change. Thirdly, to enhance the forests along the coast to protect inland and reduce flooding. Fourth, help subsidize parametric insurance for vulnerable residents along the coastline. Our recent experience with coastal flooding during the passage of Hurricane Beryl highlighted the importance of implementing additional measures to increase our resilience to coastal flooding. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, this is exciting news for the residents who reside and traverse in low-lying areas and for Dominica. The remaining $64.8 million from the GCF will be used for Dominica Community Resilience Enhancement Project, DOMCRE, for communities beyond the coastal zone. This project will secure adaptation interventions in agricultural practices in rural communities, build community shelters, and support the Met Office in its deployment of an early warning system. Mr. Speaker, I've outlined major investments in housing, health, education, public service, the environment, and infrastructure projects. Projects such as the International Airport, the Cabritz Marina, the cable car, the enhancement of the Rosal, the cargo port, the cruise village, the geothermal energy plant, and the new electricity transmission system, along with new ventures in agriculture, value-added products, agro-processing, trade and marketing, continue to pave the way for a dynamic, modern, and resilient Dominica by 2030. These efforts will create considerable business opportunities and numerous sustainable jobs, fostering prosperity among our citizens, including returning Dominicans. As a government, we are proud to be on track to achieve this significant transformation for Dominica. Mr. Speaker, the expenditure budget, which I just presented, to be financed from a combination of government's revenue, loans, and grants, together totaling $1,502.4 million, and broken down as follows. Recurrent revenue in the amount of $1,202.5 million. Capital revenue, $5.2 million. Grants equivalent to 112.4 million and loans at 182.3 million. Of the 1,202.5 million recurrent revenue, which is projected, we expect to raise tax revenues of at least 414.1 million, 760 million through the CBI, and other recurrent revenues such as fees and licenses totaling 28.4 million. However, Mr. Speaker, these projections and more can only materialize if we, as good citizens, live up to our obligations and pay our taxes. This year, government will strengthen the revenue collection system to collect monies which are owed to the state. Too many businesses and people are owing income tax, value-added tax, motor vehicle licenses, company fees, hospital fees, and for landlords purchased from government, among others. Taxes, licenses, and fees are our contribution to the effective running of the state, including maintenance of our roads, ensuring we have medicines and supplies at our health facilities, as well as nurses and doctors to provide services, securing the state, and ensuring that our children receive an education. These are just some of the reasons why we must pay taxes on time. If we do not pay our taxes, we are denying the state the revenue it needs to better provide for our citizens. Mr. Speaker, there are times you may hear government has not paid this contractor or that service provider. However, it is really our non-payment of our taxes which is often the main cause of this occurrence. To this end, Mr. Speaker, I take this opportunity to congratulate the many who continue to pay their taxes and licenses on time. As a country, we have made significant progress without imposing additional taxes on our citizens. Thanks to the inflows from the CBI program, which we have used to offset some of the capital costs that otherwise would have had to be borne by residents, and the prudent and responsible management of the country by this Labour Party administration. In further preparation for the transformation of our beautiful country and the tremendous opportunities we anticipate, government will this year increase collaboration with the private sector. We will establish a committee comprising of individuals from the public and private sectors to examine economic and social issues and make policy recommendations which will create a more conducive environment for further investments. The committee's work will include input to address the issue of labor, including farm labor, as several jobs are available in Dominica, but there is a scarcity of individuals to fill these jobs. Furthermore, the committee will review the wages which are being paid in Dominica and make clear recommendations regarding the minimum wage rate. Mr. Speaker, government will also be undertaking a review of the corporate income tax and will seek feedback from this committee. We are of the view that some amendments can be made, in particularly to attract additional large investments, increase the number of job opportunities, as well as allow businesses to self-insure and protect their investments. Another important issue, which is the Public-Private Sector Committee will look into, is the price of goods in Dominica. Government has removed import duty and in some instances VAT on a number of basic items used extensively by Dominicans. Flour, rice, milk, baby formula, sugar, adult and baby diapers, agricultural and fishing inputs, machinery and equipment, animal feed, among others, enter Dominica free of import duty and VAT. Government is deeply concerned that notwithstanding the reduction in charges, the shelf prices of many of these items remain very high. For example, government removed a 15% VAT on duty on adult and baby disposable diapers. However, citizens have not benefited from government's effort to make these products cheaper. Mr. Speaker, it is now time to have a conversation about this critical matter so that we could devise a plan of action to achieve the desired result, which is a reduction in the price to consumers. We must work to protect our vulnerable and their families and provide the enabling conditions to reduce the cost of living. Mr. Speaker, many of our citizens live as renters or tenants, and it is crucial that we provide more robust protection to safeguard them against exploitation and guarantee access to safe and affordable housing. The government of Dominica is concerned about the exorbitant prices and poor quality of some rental properties available to tenants. At present, the Tenancies and Rent Control Act, Chapter 5472, is in place and establishes a tribunal to address rental disputes. However, to improve rental conditions, protection and rights of both landlords and tenants, the government of Dominica will establish a Tenancy and Rent Commission to address issues such as regulation of rent, protection against unjust eviction, and the enforcement of health and safety standards in rental properties. The Commission's initial action will be to pursue amendments to the Tenancies and Rent Control Act to improve regulations and clearly outline the rights and responsibilities of both landlords and tenants. Additionally, the Commission will provide oversight of rental agreements and conditions, field queries, refer to disputes to the Tenancy and Rent Control Tribunal. Mr. Speaker, development is a gradual process that requires certain sacrifices. The Dominican Labour Party government has consistently proven its ability to overcome every adversity it faces. We recognize global uncertainty, but we are undaunted by challenges. We have always punched above our weight and exceeded expectations. And despite the current difficulties in the world economy, this government will continue to make smart, calculated decisions to build the foundation for long-term prosperity. And this is exactly what we are doing in this year's budget. We are making strategic investments to create sustainable jobs, enhance revenue potential, and provide improved services and a high standard of living for our citizens. We are building a Dominica that will prosper due to our unwavering commitment to each other and to our country. Today, as we embark on this bold new path, we have every reason to be optimistic, hopeful, and confident. Let us become a more caring and industrious people, willing to work hard to defend and to promote the best of our country. Mr. Speaker, we can only rely on ourselves to build a Dominica that stands tall, not only in the Caribbean, but on the global stage. This government is playing its part through progressive, people-centered policies and programs to provide the foundation for social and economic growth. But the government cannot do it alone. This is our country to build. To achieve success, we require the collective effort of all Dominicans, working hand in hand with your government to achieve the shared prosperity to which we all aspire. I am confident that with God's continued grace and protection, we can rise above every obstacle and secure a brighter future for succeeding generations. I thank you, and may God bless the Commonwealth.
Mr. Speaker, Honorable Speaker. Yes, very profound budget address. Mr. Speaker, I move for the suspension of Rule 41.6 so that the member for the Marigot constituency, the honorable member for the Marigot constituency, can have the same time taken by the Minister for Finance in the reply to the budget. This is an effort to enhance the participation of the opposition, mindful of the current circumstance. The Honorable Prime Minister will be given 1 hour and 30 minutes.
The Honorable Minister of, oh yes, okay,
Yeah.
continue.
Ministers will be permitted to speak for 1 hour, and other members 30 minutes as provided in the rules.
Mr. Speaker.
So it has been moved and seconded that the Honorable Charles be given equal time to that of the Minister of Finance. Minister of Finance, ministers be given 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour, and the Prime Minister be given an hour and a half, and other members 30 minutes. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. I'm not going to repeat all the different assignments in regards to time, but I'll repeat for the member, Honorable Anthony Charles. You'll be given equal time to the Minister of Finance. My record shows that the Minister of Finance started at 11:25 and ended at 1:19. So that's what the record shows.
You have plenty time, boy. Mr. Speaker, I move that the House be adjourned to Monday. What is it?
29th.
29th of July at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the House be adjourned until Monday, 29th July 2024 at 10 a.m. Those in favor? Those against? House stands suspended until Monday, 29th July 2024 at 10 a.m.